Hello, everyone. I'm Jim Garrison, and I want to welcome you to day 147 of Humanity Rising. Humanity Rising is an initiative of Ubiquity University and over 350 partnering organizations from literally all over the world, with registrations from over 100 countries around the world, to provide an open space, a sacred space, a global commons each day as we all traverse this extraordinary pandemic, so that people from all over can come together and share their experiences, what they're caring about, what they're concerned about, what they vision for the future, the kind of solutions they would like to see implemented, so that we can literally help to catalyze humanity to rise during this very challenging moment when a small little microbe, a little virus, has brought the human species literally to a standstill. We're all under lockdown of some form or other, most of us. Social distancing has become a new cultural norm. Our economies are suffering. People are unemployed, underemployed. And the question of how we're going to navigate through this to the other side is a matter of increasing concern as the virus seems to dig in and not go away, no matter what virtually any of the countries around the world are doing about it. So this is a moment of concern, but it's also a moment for deep thanksgiving. And I just wanted to honor the fact that the United States is celebrating its high national holy day. It's Thanksgiving. It's a beautiful event for the American public. The Canadians and other countries have Thanksgiving on different occasions during the year. It was Abraham Lincoln, actually, President Abraham Lincoln, that set the date for Thanksgiving, the third Thursday of November. So I just wanted to honor Thanksgiving by telling everybody just how grateful from the bottom of my heart for all the love and support and affirmation that we've been receiving since we launched Humanity Rising. When we did it, it was sort of like, how St. John of the Cross starts his great book, The Dark Night of the Soul. He says, I went out without discerning and with nothing to guide me except that which in my heart was burning. I went out without discerning and with nothing to guide me except that which in my heart was burning. And that's how Humanity Rising got started. We were just hunkered down like everybody else. And all of a sudden we realized the Chinese were right. Crisis is just basically a dangerous opportunity. What is the opportunity? We started to ask ourselves, what could we possibly do? And we thought, why don't we just create an open space? It's free on Zoom. Let's just invite whoever wants to come day by day to just talk about this. We're in an unprecedented moment in human history. Let's gather people. And I spent the next couple of days in late March, just feverishly emailing almost everyone I knew in my Rolodex. Is this of interest to you? And we got an avalanche back that turned into a tsunami. And we launched on the 22nd of May. We've been going ever since. We've had nearly 700 speakers. We'll have 4 more today. We've launched a beautiful group, this after chat group, a beautiful group of people that are on Zoom calls. Just took the initiative to start to set up an after session chat so that we can just keep talking about these issues because they're so important. We're social beings, and we're in a cultural public health situation where we can't kiss, we can't hug, we can't even shake hands. How do we burst forth the intimacy that we want to share with one another? Well, Humanity Rising has been one of those vehicles, one of those instruments of love, of community, of intimacy, of creativity, of compassion. And it has been one of the most remarkable experiences I've ever had in my whole life. Just a day by day to experience the plethora of human goodness and the love that people are sharing with each other at a time when the darkness seems to be intensifying. But that's the time, as we all know, when we have to shine the light the more brightly. And the only way light shines is through love. The only way that the goodness prevails and the arc of history bends toward justice is through love. And the embrace, not only of ourselves and our community, but the unembraceable, the shadow, the pandemic. And that's in fact our theme today. The discovery that we are just as much a part of nature as the virus. And that in fact, from the vantage point of nature, the virus is not the enemy at all. The virus is our friend, calling humanity to a higher level of awareness that it too is nature. How would the world be transformed if we embraced the coronavirus as family? What would we learn? How would we be transformed? Before we get into this worthy subject, I just want to thank everyone by way of offering now a moment where if we just take a few deep breaths, we place our attention on our heart, maybe even place your hand on your heart. And for the next minute or so, just listen to the sound of the heartbeat in a spirit of deep thanksgiving that you're alive, that we're in community, and that we can make a difference the more powerfully we love. Thank you, everyone. Now, with a full and open heart and the spirit of thanksgiving for all that we have received, I want to welcome Veronica Laraya, who I met through Humanity Rising. She's the convener of Wise Earth, Wise Humanity. And she invited me to participate in one of her symposia, which I did with great joy. And I was struck by Veronica's spirit and passion to do good in the world. So we began to discuss her convening a panel. And so, Veronica, I want to thank you for being present with Humanity Rising. And I turn the platform over to you. Welcome.
Thank you so much, Jim, for this invitation and for all that you do. It's a big blessing to, this gift and this space that you create for us to connect. And I feel deeply honored to be right now resonating with you all, and very grateful also with the panelists from Wise Humanity who are joining today. I feel I cannot tell you that this journey that has been very, very deep into connecting with nature through the support of all of these speakers. And today I would love to introduce you to Susannah Grover. Susannah, I know for many years from Sweden. She is a teacher who has done all sorts of studies and going deep into herself and others, and super connected. And I always feel very inspired and transformed through her work. So I wanted to share this gift also. So thank you, Susannah, for being here. And I would also like to invite Vasil Savitsky in and thank him also for being here. Because one of the things that happened to me when I was doing this journey, and I will tell a little bit more when before we start the panel more openly, is that the Wise Humanity Summit started from an actual presential event, and it was called Conscious Parenting Festival, and it was about all generations and connecting with each other beyond our ages and connecting with our wisdom. And I invited elders also, but there was only 2. And one of the things that for me was very, very powerful was to see the wisdom in all of these stages of human life, and how we together we are more. Together we are like a tree. And here I would love to say, invite Alberto Ruz, and give thanks to him also for being here, because he's a great inspiration in this trip. In this trip into community and all generations. And I was going to talk more about Vasil, but first I wanted to say about this event that for me expanded my heart, because when we're all together honoring each stage of human life, I could feel like one huge human of, babies, children, adults, elders, all of us all together, and how much we get from this connection and the power of each of them, the wisdom in each of them. So this for me grew and grew. And then the coronavirus came, as Jim was talking, and the love was like bubbling within me, bubbling. And I didn't know how, I knew I couldn't do this event physical, but I had to do something with all of this. And suddenly it bursted. And into an event, and then I got in contact with Susannah, the first actually. She was like, and then I was trying to find Basil, that I learned about his work in a TED talk, and which was about rites of passage, and then it's like it took everything, it took a shape. And actually I realized that to get into this weird nature and what do I want to do, or what can I do, you know, as a part of nature, what is my role and what can I do, I needed a way to that leads me there. You know, it's not like I need to embody this I'm nature. Not just like a concept that I know is true, but like, you know, and that's what actually it happened per moments when I was in these meetings. And I started with, for me, it was important to start with our belonging to the universe and to this planet and to nature. And to get there, I wanted to know beyond that, this love that contains us and that we are all are. And it became like a funnel. Like we went into this love, and I would love to invite Susannah to talk about this love, because she beautifully, you know, she always can talk about these things from a place of embodiment, and the relationship between this huge love and the gratitude and the birth of gratitude. Where does the gratitude come? And our gift. It's like, I feel that there's a relationship very close, you know, between this love that we are all connected to, and when we are expanded. And then there is gratitude, and there's our gifts, and everyone's gift, like the plants' gifts and the animals, you know, they all have their gifts, and how all these three are related. And yeah, I would love Susannah to talk with us about that. Welcome, Susannah.
So now, yes, now. Love, wow. Well, what comes to me is that, you know, love has been central in my own journey, starting with love of truth. And that love of truth would take me to deeper, more subtle, more refined truth. And it would reveal along the way that there were many qualities of love making themselves known, such as passionate love and sweet, tender, baby kind of love, and compassion as love, and a certain kind of golden merging love. There are many flavors of love. And so my love of truth was taking me more and more into a realization of the truth of love. And that continues. It keeps deepening and refining. I haven't seen the end of that path at all. And that there's altruistic love, which in Buddhism is called bodhicitta, where my wish for you and your well-being is as great as and important as my wish for myself and my well-being. And so I am very much aligned with motivation through bodhicitta, that my embodiment and my speech, my thoughts are for the benefit of all beings, human and otherwise, right? And love has been my teacher, and including having a lot to learn about love for myself, and shedding a program that makes it difficult for us to love ourselves, that makes us think that we are deficiently empty and worthless, and that we need to buy things, and we need to have letters after our name, and we need to, you know, have audiences and whatever, so that we become worthy of love. And when we can shed all of that, we come down to something just so simple, that we are love. And that's a very simple but very profound statement. And that would be my wish for everyone, to come to that realization ever more deeply, ever more profoundly, so that when we look at anyone, we see past the thin layer of appearance, and we recognize that the being in front of us is love also, that we see that reflected in everyone we meet. How's that for just a start?
Thank you, Susannah.
You're so welcome.
And yeah, and someone was saying, like the relationship with like they are gratitude and love, they are like, very connected. And I wonder if you can go deeper into gratitude and how is it that is connected to the gifts of life and love.
Yeah, my experience of gratitude is that it arises on its own when I recognize that something is working the way it should work, the way it is in affinity and in resonance with nature, true nature, that it isn't something I have to contrive in any way. I don't have to do affirmations of gratitude. I need to actually work with whatever stands between me and gratitude to bring that to clarity. Gratitude will always be there, waiting for us to recognize when we come to something that's really working the way it should. So I feel today is Thanksgiving in America, and I'm an American living in Europe, and my heart has been so much with America in the past weeks, of course, and with the whole world and the impact that America is having on the world. And when I think about Thanksgiving, I think about the Native people that have been marginalized at best and deeply abused. And I feel, as an American, if there's any Native people, I would like to make a deep apology for a certain kind of arrogance that the day of Thanksgiving, as beautiful as it is, because we have so much to be thankful for and grateful for, there's also a shadow side where we carry a deep wound that we've barely even begun to acknowledge. So my deep apologies as a white American for ways that we have been blind and we have been ignorant and we have taken away others' rights for them to feel Thanksgiving. So that's what comes to me as I contemplate the topic of gratitude.
Thank you, Susannah. As you said, no, gratitude needs to come when it's always there. And yeah. And for me, one of the important things that I got from these topics, like love and connecting with that love, and then with gratitude, is that in gratitude, like as you say, it's always there. And when we realize that life itself is a gift, and that the light of the sun is a gift, and the wind and the air, and then we realize that we, as part of nature, we are also a gift, and then we can embrace ourselves with our shadows and with our light and everything. And I think that's a huge thing, because shadow has always been kept kind of in the darkness. And now, as Jim was also talking, it's the time to embrace the shadow and make it a part of us.
Yes. We are going into an eclipse cycle this weekend. It starts on Sunday and Monday. as a lunar eclipse, and it will be followed by a solar eclipse on the 14th. And there will be a lot about the shadow coming forward in that period of time. It's my sense. And so this may be a very timely topic for us to name now.
Mm. Yeah.
Yeah.
Going from this, I was feeling into the awareness that you actually talked about in the summit. No, becoming aware of all of this is directly takes us into understanding that we are all one, because I mean we are all connected through love and life, and one of the things that I felt very, very powerful was to let go of the identity sometimes, or to realize, like, putting identity on the side, I can feel that I'm there in that moment, and I'm present, I'm connected to everything that is around me, and that oneness, no? And then I can use the identity, of course, to live my daily life and to work on myself, or to do a lot of processes. But this fact of that, beyond that identity, we are all we are nature. I mean, it's very powerful, and that also is part of nature. It's our nature, human nature. And there is a very interesting biologist and permaculturist who talks about our place on the web of life as human. That's always been a big question for me, because I know the animals have a role, and the humanity, or the world, has been very human-centered. We have created a human-centered world, and then talking with him, he made me see something that has supported me to embrace our shadows, and embrace my humanity as well. And actually, when I was a child, I didn't embrace it so much. I wanted to be an animal instead. And he said that the planet is like 4,400 million years or something like this. And we humans are on Earth for maybe 4 million years or something. So he was saying, if you take the numbers, there's 44 years, and we're only like 4 months old or something. So of course we have been doing a lot of stuff on the planet like children. We have behaving with the Mother Earth like children, taking, exploring, inventing, like doing all of these things like a child. No, if you look at it without judgment, it's like, okay, we are like small, we are very young on this planet, no? And that for me was very interesting. And I feel like now with this virus, as that you have been talking so much about it, we are on a big rite of passage into adulthood together as one human. And this was the core thing for me too. How can we feel like that one, being one big human, like humanity all together, so that we can actually later open up into
My screen froze for a moment.
Okay. So in this trip of like, okay, this now we are realized, we are nature, and we have a certain understanding. Okay, let's go into being a human. No, what is it to be a human? What is our role? And I heard that as an organ of Mother Earth, if we see Mother Earth as as what it is, a being, and we are part of it, that being, and any animal, all animals have their own role. Like we are kind of the organ of imagination. And I found that, like, I'm still assimilating that. I love to hear more about this, but yeah, it feels like we have been playing a lot with that imagination in different ways that don't support so much our systems. And then I wanted to go deeper into this humanity. So we went into the wisdom of each stage of life and the rites of passage. So I would love to invite Basil, who has been, he's a futurist, and he has been looking into our history and rites of passage and all of this, and how can this support us actually in maturing as humans? Also, not only the collective, but like into adulthood, for example.
Yeah, thank you. I love the fact that you raised our childhood as a developmental stage and how young we are, and the native traditional perspective of the European civilization from which I also arise of little younger brother, and our youth, and so what is it that brings forth our maturation individually? And as my work that led me into this was working with youth leadership clubs and helping young people step into adulthood, and starting to see so many parallels with where we are as a human species, in terms of where we are as a global society, and what we're on the cusp of as humanity rises. And the words that kind of come to my mind today, when Jim introduced the morning and quoted St. John of the Cross, the burning that arises. And when we were talking about love and that burning that leads us forward, I was thinking of yearning, and just the amount of passion that we think about in terms of two people falling in love, and how intense that is, and how motivational that is, and that what may lead us, this is where my thoughts are this morning, may lead us into our fullest rising of humanity is that yearning. And what is it that I individually, and what is it that we collectively as humans yearn for? What do we yearn to capture from our grandparents and our grandparents' grandparents to preserve? And what is it that we wish to pass on to our grandchildren's children? What is it that we really, honestly, deeply yearn for? And I feel that the coronavirus has given us this collective opportunity to reflect, and that hopefully that get more in touch with what do we yearn for? What do we really want to happen? Because now is the time to make that happen. And I think that the yearning is could be the cohering factor when we think of the heart and the coherence of love, and the power there. Not only that yearning can launch us into our own collective maturation, and we're definitely behaving as a adolescent, a reckless adolescent on this planet. Not only is that yearning possible to be the maturing drive, but I think it's also our identity. And so if part of what we're arising out of is this kind of noun orientation, and you look at it and what are we arising into? If we think of ourselves as a materialistic society, or just the way that we've approached Earth as a resource to be consumed, or even the people who are ecologically minded in government positions, they talk about the environment. They don't talk about nature, and the languaging of that almost makes it separates us. There's this sense that we are separate, and what we are separate from is a thing, and I am a thing. And I think that part of our maturation is to actually become yearning, to be the verb to yearn, and not that which I yearn for, but to actually shift our identity to being love, and that we know that love very intimately through the process of that which we yearn for. So I guess that'll be my start for pathway to maturation.
Yeah, thank you so much, Basil. Yeah, this is a yearning into oneness. Someone was saying, yeah, it feels like a huge transformation we're going through. And I wonder, as a futurist, if you can tell us, like, how do you see this traject? How do you say traject? Can you say that, like this line we have been, following? How do you see humanity from your, from your perspective as a futurist? Like,
it's a big questions.
Where are we going?
Big questions of our trajectory. I think we're at a launch point. I think Gene Houston wrote a book, Jump Time, and I think we're at that quantum jump. And evolution doesn't tend to happen from by committee or in a very smooth linear process. It tends to be making those big jumps, and we're being forced into that. And I think the biggest thing that the coronavirus is doing is killing our economy, and it's our economy that is coming to a grinding halt. It's forcing us collectively to reflect. The only thing that I can think of on parallel to where we are in our trajectory is mythical. When you think of the legends of the mythology of Gilgamesh and the biblical flood, it seems that something happened in our ancient history that would point to something that was globally experienced. And I can't think of anything that has happened between that time and now that has caused the earth to stop in the same way that we have as a social system. And I think we missed our opportunity really to deeply reflect in the first wave of this. I think that we were hoping to get over it or getting things back to normal and that kind of, and I'm hoping that we really cocoon. That this forces a cocooning of us collectively, so that we can see something emerge that is radically different from the caterpillar as the butterfly. And so I'm conceiving of humanity rising from a 3.0 perspective. 1.0 is pre-Garden of Eden, where we're completely kind of aligned with, I would say, somewhat of a very I don't even know quite how to define that right now. But what we've been in post-agricultural society is very othered. We've othered nature. We've othered half of our gender, and then we have othered other tribes. And I think that was the launch of the patriarchy. And so this entire sweep of written history that we've been in a post-agricultural society, post-Eden, post-fall, is up for redefinition right now. So I see humanity 3.0 as that profound, that much of a difference between what was before agriculture and all our written history since agriculture. We're on that cusp point right now. That's my futurist take on it. And we're in a very interesting time that we're being forced to make that ecological step forward. And I think that the Maori say is that the future, if we want to know the future, look behind us. And that may be a good segue to get some of Alberto's input on this process, because one of the things that I'm questioning is what does the traditional wisdom tell us about how we move forward in a global wisdom? Because that's because we're right in the middle of that.
Thank you, Basil. No, when you say this, I have to think of like this maturity and this jump we need to do together, into new ways, or it's like integrating things, like with nature, coming back to nature, or the systems that nature has, so that we can imitate them again, come back to. And then we are separated. So in a way, it's like you have to, we need to go inwards, and we need to kind of question everything now. It's like everything is messed up, and we need to find the economy. What is economy? Well, let's look at the nature. There is economy in nature. Or what is politics? And then there's politics in nature, also between animals and in other animals and the tribes and the stuff. And then when we have integrated all this, now in relation to the summit, this wisdom in all the stages of human life and the full tree. There is like I feel like an expansion in the understanding of like feeling other beings, no? Like Jim was saying, no, the virus is one with us, and all of this interconnection and the empathy between all of that, you know, to know that we are a system all together. It's like we need each other, you know, it's like we work together, we create this planet together, we are part of this planet, we are birthed by this planet. And now it's like I would love to invite Alberto in, because one of the things that actually are have been very important or very helpful for me in this, for example, coronavirus, to say, apart from all the creativity that came, is that I live in nature and I live in a community. And Alberto is like a pioneer of creating eco-villages around the world, and he has been always standing for Mother Earth. And I would love to invite you to talk about the importance of community in this shift. Thank you, Alberto. Gracias.
Gracias a ti, Verónica, and merci, and thank you to everyone here in the sala, in the room, but also to all the others who are looking at us. And when I say all the others, I'm not just only saying the human others, where the whole universe is listening to this presentation. And this whole summit, we should call it a summit. This little summit is having given us the opportunity to send out messages, good messages, positive messages, pro-positive messages to the noosphere. You know, the noosphere, if this is a cloud that everything comes and comes down, ups and comes down here. On the earth, on Mother Earth, this living order in which we live has the noosphere, where it's the collective mind of not only humans, but about mountains, climate, everything. And these little machines have also their cloud. So what we're doing, what we're saying, what we're thinking is going up in a cloud, and that cloud is becoming accessible to everyone. So community has precisely the sense that a unity with the common. And unity with the common is with the everything. And I had the privilege, you know, la suerte to be a son from Mother Earth, born from many other races, nations, cultures, civilizations. My mother comes from the Mayan. My godfather comes from the French and the Cuban. So we have all those different ways to see, to understand, and to live that are not determined, not only by one way of seeing, thinking, feeling, and acting. And I was just wondering, when we talk about community, and we're still talking about America, proud, you know, we are Americans. But the concept of America and America for the Americans is a very colonial way to see. And it doesn't help, you know, the community. It doesn't help to continue using terms, concepts that are dividing us. And when somebody, like Susannah said before, you know, talking about the Thanksgiving Day, well, the native people from Turtle Island, which is the name that the indigenous people gave to the north of this part of Mother Earth, you know, they were not very happy about this. They don't have too much to thank for what happened to them. And yes, it's good to apologize, it's to recognize, but we also have to recognize that we're still living in a very, not only anthropocentric world, way of thinking, feeling, and talking and acting, but very Eurocentric one, and yeah, and that doesn't help again to create unity when we think about Eurocentric, Anglocentric. No, if we want to talk, it's anthropocentric. Whatever way, whichever way we divide ourselves and we say I'm Lakota, or I'm a Maya, or I'm a Mapuche, or I'm a French, or I'm an English, or I'm French. No, at the end, we are much more than all of that. And for me, that I grew up with those two cultures, many cultures, and then I went out in the world to learn more and to be part of other cultures and learn from cultures who are antagonic and had been in war for millions of thousands of years. So let's live here, let's live with the Black people in Africa, and let's live with the white peoples in Europe and the States, and the way the Asians and all of that, and living especially with the communities. Which one of those communities kept their commune unity, but still separated from the others? I said, no. So my quest for many years was to look for community. And then I've gone through many lives. No, I cannot talk about one life, but about past lives. In this life, I have lived so many lives. That helped me to see this moment like part of that evolution, that film, that drama, tragicomedia, that play, that universe, the whole universe is playing in this little beautiful living being, which is our Mother Earth, and all this moment of history who have led us to this moment. And I was thinking, well, some of you were talking before, that after I went through all those different initiations here, initiations there, political activism, cultural activism, all of that in different parts of the world, when I came back to the Americas, Turtle Island, Aztlán, the Quiche world, and all of the Amazon people, each one of them are born, and I grew up in this same part of the mother, and when there's somebody white, big, blue eyes, tells America for the Americans, well, we don't feel unity with somebody who says it's America, it's Americans, and I don't feel part of your America. And then you don't even look at our little Americas, all the Americas that are inside of this same America. But I remember very precisely the moment in the north, Turtle Island, when I was living up in the mountains in the hills of North America, and Mendocino, Humboldt County over there, when I went to my first sweat lodge. I imagine that everybody has been in a sweat lodge, but anyway, many of those who are probably watching and being part of this experience right now have not been in a sweat lodge. But talking about community, first thing you do when the whole place, the inipi, what we call the sweat lodge, represents the womb of the mother. So first thing, you are going to go back to the womb of the mother. First thing you do, people has prepared the fire and sang and done all the ceremonies to prepare. But when you personally, come inside, first thing you do is you take away your clothes. And taking away your clothes is symbolically very interesting, because it means you take away your personal importance, your identity, your nationality, your gender, your status, your color. You are naked, because basically when we are born naked, and we're linked to the mother, to the womb. We're still part of the womb instead of the mother. So the first lesson was there. Wow, Community? Yeah, well, community with the earth, not with the others, and mostly with the others who are like me, think like me, but with the other, which is not the other anymore. And that's the purpose of the Temazcal, is to break the separation between us and the other. We become the other. So we come in darkness, naked in darkness, and we sit around this little hole where the red stones, our grandmother red stones, come in, purified to start our purification. So you might be sitting with 10, 15, 20, 50. I've been in sweat lodge with 100 people, gigantic in Canada and the States, you know. And then the prayer and then the singing starts. And slowly, you start to understand. And now that I become, for 30 years, a sweat lodge leader, you know, you start to understand that you are leaving behind the E, the I, the yo, the me. You become slowly part of the rock world, which is the first world. You know, the sweat lodge is built to consider that the first world was precisely mountains, volcanoes, rock, you know, and then you sweat for the first world. But you don't only sweat, you become part of the first world. You become a mineral, you become a mountain, you become a desert. And then pause, you go out, you let the air come in, you know, and then new plants, new aromas, medicine, stones, abuelas come in, and then you enter in the second world, which is the world of the vegetal, the green world. So again, you are not, no, you become the seed, you become the plant, you become the tree, you become the flower, you become the fungus, you become to all the elements from the world, for the green world. You become, you remember that you always been and they're still in your body and they're in your mouth and DNA. We are minerals and we are water and we are plants. You know? And then for the second world, you become part of that world. And then the third world, in which the animal world appears. This, you know, and then we become all our different nahuales. The clans have all, we were part of a clan. We was related to animal in all the cultures. So you become the animal and you identify with those animals who are more close to your species. You know, I'm a coyote, so I like wolves, you know, and like this, each one, which is the cats like jaguars and tigers and like this. So we have clans, we have allies. We are part of a family within the family of animals, of plants and minerals. We were also animals. And then the fourth world is the fault of the humans, of us. The last to come, like you said, you know, we just arrived. The youngest children, los hermanos menores, the young brothers and sisters. And then you become part. Not only, you're not part of the Mapuche humanity or the Anglo or the Russian or the Asian. No, you become part of humanity. All humanity is coming from the same tree roots, different colors, different areas. We became part of those, all nations. We are blacks and Jews and we are Islamic. We are all of that. We have been that through the thousands of years that we have been humans. We have been all of that. But then, you know, when we finish and I learned and I spent 2 years learning about the sweat lodge, after 2 years, when I was going to receive the initiation from Klamath, roadman, Melvin Chiloquin, I told him, hermano mayor, big brother, I think we have to go to the fifth world. And from now on, I asked the permission to pray for the fifth world. So he looked at me like this and he said, well, what is the fifth world? He says the fifth world is the world in which we all after all those evolutions, that evolution who took millions, we're starting to recognize each other, and the Sweat Lodge helped to that, to understand we're one humanity. And that the Sweat Lodge, like many activities like this, is a Sweat Lodge, what we're doing right now. We're sharing the word, we're sharing our vision, we're sharing our sweat, we're sharing our experiences. That's what we're doing, we're sharing, and we're feeding Mother Earth, and we tell him, Mother Earth, gracias, thank you, gracias, gratitude for everything, for every breath, for cada semilla, for cada food, for cada agua, drop of water. So you become slowly aware that you are one with everything. And this is the process of arising. We are slowly remembering what many cultures do in the beginning. We have lost in the way, and now as a global humanity, we're coming to that point. And again, the virus has helped us to do that. And the virus is part of Mother Earth, who's coming to say, hey, listen, no more games, no more pendejadas, no more silly games of teenagers or children. This is time to grow. This is time to go to another step. And
Thank
in
you,
that
Alberto.
sense, well, that's my point.
Wow, Alberto, it's always such a honor and pleasure to listen to you, and thank you for taking us into this journey, because I feel that your story. I mean, I could feel like this, this trip from the minerals into human, and then into this huge oneness, no? Like beyond our understanding, that is this is the opportunity we're having now, no? To understand that there's something more, like that also Basie was saying, no? There's something more that we don't know it, here, but it's because it's so, yeah, I mean, we have it within, but it's there is other parts of us that still need to kind of break, or something, forms that are breaking, so that we can actually step into that place from that love that we are, and this awareness and of our shadows and our light and everything, that we can embrace ourselves, or we can embrace our unity and all the minerals and everything around us, and it's huge. And this community, how is also kind of having small fires, and like groups, and we are all united in like the cells, no? We have our little bodies, and we are all going, I feel, into this now, if we like someone was sharing here, no? They are there is a community, and there is different sorts of community happening now with all this virus, and people waking up and looking for the answers within and with others and in nature, and such a gift. And I'm so happy that actually I moved into a land in a community here in Uruguay, and that is so different, my reality, for example, that my parents that live in Buenos Aires, and that they have also their journey. They are and everyone has their journey in different places, no? And I look out because I see the mountain and the trees, and the gratitude comes from being here with with being here with you all, and having this opportunity of I don't know if rebirthing, but like Basie was saying, no, being in this cocoon together, and kind of, and I feel like one of the things that also supporting realizing thing is when you talk about the stones and the first world, and then the plants and the animals, and to see how do we relate with them, because once you realize, okay, I'm one with these trees and with these animals around me and with these stones, and how do I relate to the water, and how do I take care of my water, going more practical, no? How do where does my water come from, and where does it go? And this I feel it's so valuable, no, to look into our relationships, not only with the humans around us, but also even with the plants around us. No, we can see that they really, no, like Dirk, who couldn't be here today because he was in the middle of the forest in Sweden, he actually had a talk with a plant on our talk, and he was saying, like, just asking how are you, not expecting to have an answer, because they have a total different language, and we need to go down so many revolutions to be able to understand a plant or an animal, but just to connect with them, and to connect with the stones, like the abuelitas, no, that you do in a sweat lodge, that you are immersed there with them, like, whoa, so powerfully. And I know we don't have so much time, but I would love to invite all three of you. Susannah, if you want to start, like, now the last part of the summit was about steps to take for a prosperous future on Earth, no? Coming from that place of belonging to nature and to love and to gratitude, and feeling our humanness from baby to elder and death as a gate of surrender, and that if we live it at every stage of life with the transitions, we can embrace death as an expansion into love, and then going into interconnection and into community, no? And then as in an inner world, no? Because we have a lot of wounds and identity. What steps can we take to get in connection with this oneness, Susannah?
Give me a moment.
Mm-hmm.
I'm radical. I just ask oneness to get in touch with me and show me what needs to happen. And to me, we need community, and we each have to have our own source connection. And that's a very individual path, and there's no one path that fits everyone. So I think we all have to take radical self-responsibility for our relationship to source, however we relate to it. And we need to make it very personal. And there's a lot of help right now. That's the good news. It's a lot to do to clean up and purify, eons of just toxic conditioning. But there's so much help now to emerge through that, and to discover that we already are in oneness. It's just mostly our minds that stand in the way of us recognizing that. And if our hearts are aligned with the yearning, Basil, you recommended connecting with yearning. That was beautiful. It will come to us. It will come to us. It wants to come to us. And it will come in ways we can't imagine, that can be baffling to our minds. But I've been living this experiment for a long time, mostly because nothing else worked. And I have seen it show itself in its intelligence far beyond my personal intelligence. And I would wish that for everyone. So it's already here. It's like being a fish and saying, how can we discover wetness? We're in it. It's here. So I just say dive in and trust yourself and work with whatever seems to be in the way, and be radically honest, radically truthful with where you are, not some spiritual ideas. Spiritual concepts have nothing to do with spiritual reality. They have to do with concepts. And to realize each person's life is so precious, your own and everyone you meet. And I don't know, put your head on the ground every day and ask for guidance. Ask to be shown, humble yourself, and be available to be well used. And just keep it practical, chopping wood, carrying water, and showing up and feeling your feelings. If you're angry, be angry, but don't act it out. Don't stuff it, but feel it. It'll take you to, it's a door, it's a portal. It'll take you to the next place. If you're sad, feel your sadness. There's a lot for us to grieve. There are many people who are grieving for us right now. Receive the help. I mean, it's really, as messed up as things are on the surface with this nefarious agenda that seems to be wanting to impose itself, it's that amazing and full of grace elsewhere. And ride that current and let it take you. So one day the fish realizes, it's always been in the oneness. It can't be other than the oneness. But you also have to be your individual wave of that ocean and honor that as well. And let other people honor it the way that is right for them. Respect. I have one guideline in the groups that I teach, and that is respect, period. That's it. Respect for self, respect for others, respect for the group. And there's an intelligence that's moving all of us. So we learn to find it, ride it, let it take us. It's beautiful.
Thank you, Susannah. Thank you. I love the idea of this ocean.
Yeah.
We are all drops in this ocean. Thank you.
Yeah. You're welcome.
And Basil, what you would like to say to all us humans here? The steps to take for a prosperous future on Earth.
I want to echo two things that I heard. One, Susannah was said, love of truth and the truth of love. I thought that was very powerful this morning. And Alberto, what you said about the universe is watching. So it's not just a human game. But given the question about the humans, three verbs came to my mind when you recalled the summit, the wise humanity. And in terms of taking action. And those were to bifocalize, somaticize, and illuminate. And so by bifocalize, I feel like if we're like fish coming onto land, like being amphibious and having to see two different worlds at the same time, how the crocodile can look above water and below water. I feel like that's part of what our species jump time is right now. I love what you said about organ of imagination too. If that's what our calling is, to step into being a fully coherent organ, collectively, human species as an organ of imagination, I think that the bifocalization involves being able to see at the individual scale and the collective scale at the same time. And so when you reference the tree with all the different leaves on it that we as human beings are, each leaf has its integral structure. And when you think about single-celled organisms on an evolutionary basis coming together to form a colony, they retained and became, all the other forms of life beyond single-celled life. Those individual cells, it was something in it for them that benefited them to collectivize, and they also maintain their individual structure. And so I think it's our individual responsibility, as Susannah was saying, to mature and grow up and do what we need to do, or in our own personal sweat lodges. But then also, what do we need to do collectively to keep our eyes, to be able to operate at both scales, to honor our own self and do what we need to do in terms of self-compassion, and then also to hold the collective in mind and to be able to operate on both levels at the same time. I think that's something that's part of our calling. And somaticize will be much briefer. Somaticize is that this is not a heady thing. This has got to be embodied on a cellular basis. And what I have found in my path work to be the most profound is when it comes out of the head and into the belly, then my heart opens. It's not a head game. Anyways, so by grounding our experiences, but putting the head to the earth, that was beautiful. I mean, that essentializes that practice of making this, it's not something we're ascending into, like a butterfly that flies away from the planet. We are the planet. And so we're not ascending away off of this planet. And then the third thing to illuminate, and there's a lot of work going on shadow right now. And a lot of people are concerned about, what is going on. And I think we're distracted by the Plato's shadows on the cave wall. And rather than obsessing about all the changes that we're seeing and all the tumult and the danger side of crisis, but rather the opportunity, I'd like to start. My thread for the last few months has been to focus on what is the source of the illumination that is throwing this much shadow on a global basis. Over the course of the last 100 years or 500 years, what has been happening since Magellan circumnavigated the world, and since we saw ourselves from the moon and saw that iconic photograph of planet Earth? What is happening in terms of the meeting of East and West that has happened so much in the last 100 years, and what has happened so much in the consciousness movement that was birthed in a large part in the 60s? What forms of illumination have been arising in us individually and collectively that are casting this much shadow? And so I'm trying to focus on that process of being the light, I guess. So I would say bifocalize, somaticize, and illuminate. Those would be my 3 calls to action.
Thank you, Basil. And to end, I would love to ask you, Alberto. One of the things that was very moving for me and illuminating in my relationship with Mother Earth was the way you talked about her and about us, but especially how to relate to her. So in steps to take, I would love that you have some words about that, and that what steps can we take to have a healthy relationship with Mother Earth and its inhabitants, and we are also included.
Yeah. A few years ago in France, when it was the COP, the reunion of whatever, the French young people who were protesting against this organization of events, international, blah, who talk, but do not too much. They said, they wrote in their signs, we are nature defending herself. So I was struck by that. We are nature defending. It's not we are defending Mother Earth. Is Mother Earth defending herself or adjusting to the children she created? It's when you have children, you don't know what kind of children are going to come out from the same education. We are in a moment of rito de paso. Passage, right, you say? We're in a passage.
Rite of passage.
Rite of passage, like Basil was talking in the beginning. And the sweat lodge or the temazcal or the inipi is the rite of passage, rite of passage. And this moment in the earth, in the Mother Earth, and the humanity, is same sweat lodge, big, and we are all in the same sweat lodge, and we have all realized back into the fourth world who we were. But this again is, which is the fifth world, is the one we are creating. Is the one that Mother Earth is creating through us, with us, because it's a coevolution. If we are in a process of evolution, it's because Mother Earth is going through a process of evolution as well. And the universe is going through a process of evolution as well. And it's very hard to try to control it or to understand it, you know. So I would say, taking all, you know, humble, you know, let's humble ourselves to say, we came here, we're part of this incredible non-created creation, and we're part of this oneness. What can we do while we are here in this form, with this body, in this species? What way can we do to leave behind of us the best we can? It's like when you go to a picnic and or a party, how can you leave the place more clean than when you found it? When you are in nature, when you go to the beach, how can you clean it better, leave it more clean? Not only you pick up my things, it's not my things, it's Mother Earth who's being contaminated, it's our things. And what puts all of that together finally is what I learned precisely when I came to my first sweat lodge. And I'm not a sweat lodge. That's not what I do all the time. I do it 1, 2, 3 times now a year. I live in an eco-village that is now 38 years old. My children, my grandchildren were born in this eco-village. We're part of a network of eco-villages in all Mexico, in all Latin America, in part of the global eco-village network, because we're working on the creation of the fifth world, the quinto mundo. That is the world of our dreams, of our visions, of our children, of our poetry, of our best desires, feelings. We're in the fifth world in a rite of passage. And what's going to come up? I don't know. You know, and the only one who knows is the universe and is the mother, and they have a different calendar than we have. And we're going through the tests. Every world in the sweat is hard. It's much hot, more hot, more hot. And sometimes you say, I want to go out, and it's dark, and it's confusion, and it's lack of oxygen. But then you go and you another one and another one. But by the fifth world, you just want to stay there forever, you know. And that's what I think we have to be working on creating a fifth world in which you can always say, this is what I want to be. And when you come in the sweat lodge and you pray, you say, Om Takuyasi, for all my relations. And when you leave the sweat lodge in humble, you know, and respect, and agradecimiento, you say, Om Takuyasi, all my relations, from the smallest to the universal one. So if we can pass that and turn it into ways of living in a better way, and eco-villages is only one way to do it, which takes from ashrams, who takes from communities in Tibet and indigenous communities in Amazonia, and all of that, we come from there. Just return to that, but think that we are all part of that same fifth world. We're all creating it together. Gracias.
Aho. Thank you so much. If you want to unmute Susannah and Basil also, I just want to say thank you, thank you, thank you, and thank you to everyone here, and thank you to Jim, and I bow to you all, and I feel blessed right now. Thank you, because thank you, Jim, because really this feels like a portal to be in this place of transformation together. So I feel very grateful. I don't know if you want to say anything,
Gracias,
to add something.
Gracias, Veronica.
Thank you, Veronica. Susannah, Alberto, this has been rich. Basil, this has been a very rich and textured discussion. Just a couple of comments as we bring this to a close. First of all, I just want to acknowledge and thank you for bringing in the shadow of Thanksgiving. You know, it's one of the most painful aspects of U.S. history, that it was founded on bringing slaves from Africa and stealing indigenous land. That was the original sin that led to somebody like Trump. It's a sin that we've never acknowledged as a nation. It's a sin that, because it's not acknowledged, grows more toxic in our national soul. And over the last 4 years, we've seen a whirlwind as a man stepped into the Oval Office who tore away even the veneer of civility. So I just want all of us to just appreciate and honor, in some ways celebrate, the light and dark dimensions of this national holiday. Every holiday has light and dark dimensions. And so Susan and Alberto, I just want to acknowledge that and affirm it in every way that I can. And I was so moved, Alberto, by your talking about the sweat lodge. And just to take a minute from my autobiography, I was in my mid-20s. I found myself in Oklahoma working on the Karen Silkwood case, for those of you who know about Karen Silkwood, as a private investigator and organizer. I had been at Harvard actually organizing nonviolent civil disobedience against the Clamshell Alliance, focused the nuclear reactor up there, and Seabrook reactor, and found myself in Oklahoma and was approached by local activists who said, would you organize civil disobedience, help us organize civil disobedience against the Black Fox nuclear reactor outside of Tulsa, Oklahoma. And I was just new. I just come in on my motorcycle into Oklahoma City, and I'd only been there for about a week, and I didn't know anything about Oklahoma. And I said, well, sure. And I said, who do we need to consult to make sure that this is a successful endeavor? And they said, you've got to talk to a medicine man named Frank Thomas. You've got to get the blessing of the elders. So the very next weekend, we went out to Frank Thomas's farm outside of Tulsa, as it turned out. And he said, you want to do this with the power of the earth? Sweat every week. And I will provide the hottest sweat you can stand, white people. And if you do that, you will be blessed. And the very next weekend, I didn't even know what a sweat was. But we stayed up all night. We got there at about 10 o'clock on a Friday night, and we held fire, and I was there to keep the fire going all night. And then at about 4 o'clock in the morning, you started to heat the rocks. You go into this sweat, everyone. You go into these heated rocks, and it's sealed, and you start to sweat. And if it's a hot sweat, you are brought right to the face of your ability to endure pain. And you have to endure. That's the point of the exercise. And as Alberto says, you're stripped. You have no clothes on. You're grimy. There's dirt. You want to get out in the worst possible way, and it's not possible. And we sweated. And we organized. And I'll never forget, we went to the sheriff of the town near the Black Fox nuclear reactor. We told him we were coming in. It was late October, 1978. And he says, well, you know, we carry guns here in Oklahoma and we shoot trespassers. And I looked him right in the eye and I said, well, you may carry guns, but we're coming in with mothers and children. So you think about your guns. And it made the papers, and all of a sudden there was this big consternation that there was this upsurge of resistance against that black fox nuclear reactor. And we kept sweating. Finally, we couldn't fit any more people in the sweats, and we were doing 2 and 3 sweats every Saturday. And I was barnstorming the state of Oklahoma. And when we went over those fences, we had 578 people, including women and children, with us. We built these big planks up to the top of the barbed wire fence and down to the other side. And that has been recorded as the largest civil disobedience in the history of the Southwest. And Black Fox nuclear reactor was shut down. And I'm here to testify to the power of what Alberta was saying about the sweats. And it transformed my life, Alberta. And it gave me an experience of indigenous wisdom and I would say warrior fortitude. Staying up all night, every Friday night, tending the fires, and then going into the hottest sweat you could possibly imagine and crawling out the other side on your hands and knees. Stripped of everything that you would call dignity because you found a way through and you penetrated the veils of suffering and experienced pure agony. And you endured. And that's the power that I think we want to celebrate today. You know, and to your point, Basil, I wrote it down. It was such a beautiful, beautiful thing. What forms of illumination are casting such great shadows in our time? I think that is the question of humanity rising. That is the only question to be asked in a time of COVID. What are the great illuminations that are casting such great shadow in our time? It's like Rilke said, the future is bursting through us. And that's how we change the world. So I want to honor Veronica, the mastery of this panel, and Susannah, Alberto, Basil. I want to thank you for the depth of your contributions today. You've honored the light and shadow dimensions of Thanksgiving in the United States. And
so
given
much.
us all something to deeply, deeply ponder. And then tomorrow, we're going to dive into the Kabbalah, one of the most pure, pristine, crystalline, spiritual traditions of the human spiritual archive, the Kabbalah, originating out of 12th, 13th century Spain, with a power that has shaken the world and transformed lives ever since. We're talking with a rabbi on the Kabbalah dialogue tomorrow. As Humanity Rising continues day by day by day, everyone, celebrating the human spirit as we've done today with Humanity Rising, 5:00 p.m. Central European Time. Thank you, everyone. Beautiful session, powerful session. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you. Gracias.
Thank you. Gracias, Jim. Gracias a todos. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Veronica. Beautifully done. Beautifully done.
My first panel.